A Winchester rifle just sold for more than $700,000, not because it had gold inlays, not because it belonged to a famous outlaw. It was valuable because it was the right model from the right year, with the right details most owners would never think to check. That is the scary part. Some Winchester rifles look ordinary until a collector sees the serial number, the chambering, the barrel, or the factory markings. In 2026, prices for the right examples are still climbing fast. So before anyone sells an old Winchester sitting in a safe, closet, or family collection, these are 10 rifles smart owners should hold on to. Number 1 may be worth far more than it looks. Number 10. Winchester Model 52 Target Rifle Pre-War and Pre-64. Most people walk right past the Model 52 at gun shows. They see a bolt-action .22 with a plain wood stock and a long barrel. They pick it up, set it back down, and move on. That is a mistake. The Winchester Model 52 was built starting in 1919. It was chambered in .22 long rifle, and for nearly 5 decades it was the standard by which every serious .22 target rifle was judged. American Olympic teams trained with it. College shooting programs built their entire identity around it. Competitors called it the finest American rimfire ever made. Current 2026 prices for Model 52 rifles run from $400 to $1,000, depending on condition and variant. But that is for the average examples. Pre-war versions, those built before 1941, push well past that range in clean condition. A pre-war Model 52 Sporter is rarer still, and examples with original Unertl scopes regularly attract serious collector money. What makes the Model 52 dangerous to ignore is how quietly it is climbing. It does not make headlines like the lever-action Winchesters. It does not show up in Western films. It is just a purpose-built precision rifle from an era when American manufacturing was at its absolute peak, and the collectors who understand that are buying every clean example they find. If you own one, keep it. The people passing it up at gun shows are doing you a favor. Number 9. Winchester Model 1892. This rifle looks like a smaller version of the Model 1886, and that is exactly what it is. John Browning designed it as a scaled-down lever action for revolver cartridges .4440, .3840, and .3220. Winchester put it into production in 1892, and it never really stopped being relevant. Here is why that matters. Those calibers were the same ones Colt was putting in the single-action Army revolvers of the era. A cowboy could carry one cartridge box and feed both his pistol and his rifle. That made the Model 1892 practical in a way that no other rifle of its time could match. Over 1 million Model 1892s were built between 1892 and 1941. The pre-war examples are the ones to keep. Dealer listings currently show a 1903 production Model 1892 in .3840 WCF with a full octagon barrel priced at $2,450. That is a standard commercial example in good condition, not a special order, not a deluxe grade. Special order versions, those with takedown receivers, longer barrels, or deluxe walnut, pull significantly higher numbers. And the carbine variants with the saddle ring are especially collectible because of their connection to mounted use on the frontier. Steve McQueen carried a cut-down Model 1892 in his television series Wanted, Dead or Alive. That alone locked the 1892 into American popular culture for generations. Collector demand has stayed strong ever since, and early production rifles in original condition are not getting any easier to find. The number 8. Winchester Model 1895 Sporting Rifle. The Model 1895 is the odd one out on this list. It is the only Winchester lever action with a fixed box magazine instead of a tube magazine under the barrel. That one design change made it capable of feeding pointed Spitzer bullets. the same modern high-powered ammunition that made older lever-action designs obsolete. Browning designed it, Winchester built it, and one very specific customer fell in love with it. Theodore Roosevelt took his Model 1895 to Africa in 1909 on one of the most famous hunting expeditions in American history. He called it his big medicine. He relied on it. And when word got out that the President of the United States trusted his life in the African bush to a Winchester 1895, the rifle became something more than just a firearm. The Russian Imperial Army also ordered over 290,000 Model 1895s chambered in 7.62 by 54R during World War I. Military contract examples in verified original condition carry their own collector premium. Pre-war sporting-grade rifles in top condition regularly reach $3,000 to $6,000 at major auction houses. Documented Roosevelt-era examples or factory deluxe versions push beyond that. Winchester also produced limited commemorative editions in 2009 to mark the 100th anniversary of Roosevelt's Africa Safari, and those have held their value well as collectibles. If you own a pre-war 1895 in any decent condition, you own something that connects directly to one of the most famous moments in both firearms history and American political history. That kind of story does not lose value. Number 7. Winchester Model 1894 Pre-War. Winchester Model 1894 Pre-war. More Winchester Model 1894s have been sold than almost any other repeating rifle in American history. Production crossed 7.5 million units before the original U.S. manufacturing run ended in 2006. That number makes most people think the 1894 is too common to be worth serious money. They are looking at the wrong guns. The rifles built before World War II, the true pre-war examples, were made by craftsmen, not assembly lines. Every part was fitted by hand. The steel was forged. The wood was proper walnut. Those early guns feel different in the hand from anything built after the war. And any collector who has handled both knows it immediately. Pre-war model 1894s in octagon barrel configurations, with original finishes intact, sell for $3,000 and above in clean condition. Saddle ring carbines from the same era attract strong bids. Takedown variants are especially collectible. The used value of the model 1894 has risen close to $60 in just the last 12 months. That is consistent movement, not a spike. It reflects steady collector demand from buyers who understand that the pre-war guns and the post-war guns share a name but very little else. The 1894 was also the first commercial American repeating rifle designed from the ground up for smokeless powder. That is a historic milestone, and the pre-war examples that carry that legacy in original condition are not being made anymore. Every year there are fewer of them in unaltered shape. Number 6. Winchester Model 1886. John Browning walked into Winchester with a design in 1884. He told them it could handle the biggest, most powerful cartridges of the era. Winchester agreed, put it into production in 1886, and the result was the strongest lever-action rifle ever built up to that point in history. The Model 1886 was chambered in calibers that earlier lever actions could not even attempt: .45-70 Government, .45-90, .40-82, .38-56. Big game hunters used it. The U.S. Army tested it. It set the standard for what a serious lever action could do. Current 2026 market pricing for original Model 1886 rifles runs from $800 to $5,000 depending on condition and configuration. Early production rifles with original case-hardened finishes are at the top of that range. Special order examples, factory engraved, gold inlaid, or chambered in scarce calibers, have sold for considerably more at Rock Island Auction Company. The takedown variant, which allows the rifle to be broken down for transport, carries its own premium. Deluxe wood and factory checkering push values higher still. What makes the 1886 important beyond its price is its place in history. It was the rifle that proved Browning was the best firearms designer alive. And everything he built afterward, the 1892, the 1894, the 1895, traced directly back to what he learned building the 1886. You are not just buying a rifle. You are buying the origin point of an entire generation of American firearms design. Number 5. Winchester Model 1866. Yellow Boy in 1866, Oliver Winchester took over the Henry Rifle Company, renamed it, and launched a new rifle under his own name. That rifle was the Model 1866. The brass receiver gave it a golden color, and shooters started calling it the Yellow Boy almost immediately. It was the first firearm ever sold with the Winchester name on it. That fact alone makes the Model 1866 historically significant in a way that no other rifle on this list can match. But there is a practical reason collectors want original Yellow Boys beyond the history. Firearms manufactured before 1899 are classified as antiques under federal law. They are not regulated the same way as modern firearms. A genuine Model 1866 can be purchased and sold without federal paperwork in most situations, and it can be shipped to international buyers who cannot legally import modern firearms. That dramatically expands the pool of potential buyers. Current pricing for a Winchester Model 1866, in very good to excellent condition, sits between $800 and habits of $6,000, with early production examples and original finish guns at the top of that range. International collector demand for pre-1899 Winchesters has been pushing prices upward steadily. The French army bought them. The Turkish army bought them and used them at the Siege of Plevna in 1877. There are documented Yellow Boys that have traced histories on multiple continents. That kind of reach means this rifle shows up in collections worldwide, and worldwide demand keeps the floor rising. Number 4. Winchester Model 1873, Standard Antique Example. This is the one they called the gun that won the West. Winchester introduced the Model 1873 in .44-40 Winchester center fire, a cartridge that Colt simultaneously chambered in the single-action Army revolver. 1 box of ammunition, 2 guns. That combination sold the 1873 to an entire generation of American men who worked, traveled, and lived in places where running out of ammunition meant running out of luck. Current pricing for a Winchester 1873 in very good to excellent condition runs between $800 and $5,000. Pristine examples with original finish, matching parts, and full proof marks are at the top. Rare calibers like the .44-50 and documented special order configurations have sold beyond $5,000 at auction. Here is the number that should get your attention. Over the last 12 months, the used value of the Winchester Model 1873 has risen $235. That is not a slow creep. That is meaningful movement for a rifle in this price range, and it reflects something the collector market has understood for years. That clean, original 1873s are getting harder to find every season. Firearms appraiser Mark Harris, speaking on the 1873 market, has said that collectors now treat the Model 1873 less as a vintage relic and more as a historical asset with real investment potential. Every decade since 2010 has seen steady price appreciation. The most common caliber is .44-40. If your 1873 is in a scarce chambering with original finish intact and no alterations, you are holding something the market wants badly. Number 3. Winchester Pre-64 Model 70, Standard and Featherweight in 1964. Winchester changed everything about how the Model 70 was built. They switched from a controlled round feed bolt to a cheaper push feed design. They replaced hand-fitted parts with stamped components. They cut costs wherever they could find them. Collectors never forgave them. The rifles built before 1964, the pre-64 Model 70s, became their own category overnight. Hunters and collectors started calling them the rifleman's rifle. USMC sniper Carlos Hathcock used a Model 70 in Vietnam. The rifle had a reputation built on decades of field performance, and the pre-64 examples carried that reputation in steel and walnut. Current average market pricing for a pre-64 Model 70 sits at $1,454 used, with a $27 gain over the last 12 months. But that average covers a wide range of condition and configuration. Featherweight models in .243 or .308 in top condition reach $2,000 to $3,500. Collectors want original guns. They are not interested in what someone else thought was an improvement. If you have a pre-64 Model 70 in original condition with all matching parts, keep every original component with it. That completeness matters. Number 2. Winchester pre-64 Model 70 Supergrade and pre-war. Above the standard pre-64 Model 70 sits the Supergrade, and above the Supergrade sits the pre-war version. Winchester introduced the Model 70 in 1936. The pre-war Supergrade, built between 1937 and 1941, was the factory's premium offering from day one. It came with a higher grade of walnut, a jeweled bolt, a grip cap, and sling swivel studs as standard equipment. It was not a custom gun. It was not a gunsmith creation. It came out of the Winchester factory already finished to a level that most rifles never reached. Those pre-war Supergrades in high, unaltered condition are currently valued at $4,000 to $8,000 depending on chambering. Non-factory holes drilled into the receiver kill collector value immediately. An undrilled, unstocked, all original pre-war Supergrade is becoming genuinely rare in the collector market. Total Model 70 production in the pre-war years was relatively low across all grades. The Supergrade was a small fraction of that total. Add 5 decades of hunting use, modifications, and general attrition, and the number of genuinely clean, all original pre-war Supergrades left in the world keeps shrinking. That is why the price keeps going up. Your grandfather may have paid $150 for a new Model 70 in 1955. A pre-war Supergrade in exceptional condition just changed hands near $5,000. That is not an accident. That is what happens when a great rifle stops being made and starts being understood. Number 1. Winchester Model 1873, one of 1,000. Winchester Model 1873, one of 1,000 in 1873. Winchester tested every single rifle barrel that came off the production line. Each one was fired through a mechanical test. The rifles that shot inside a defined tight accuracy standard were pulled from the regular production line and set aside. Winchester labeled those rifles one of 1,000. They only made 136 of them, 136 rifles out of the entire 1873 production run that met that specific standard. They were sold at a significant premium over standard 1873 rifles. They were engraved. They were fitted with better stocks. They came with set triggers and special sights. And then they entered the world and spent the next 150 years trading hands at prices that kept climbing higher and higher. In December 2023, a Winchester Model 1873, one of 1,000, sold at Rock Island Auction Company for $528,750. Ride that number again. Then in May 2026, just weeks ago, a first model 1876 one of 1,000, the related heritage piece that shares direct lineage with the 1873 program, sold at Rock Island Auction Company for $793,125. These are not anomalies. These are the results of documented provenance, extreme rarity, and a collector market that has fully recognized what a genuine 1 of 1,000 represents. It is not just the rarest Winchester, it is one of the rarest American firearms ever made.